Good evening, Purple family. Welcome to another episode of Shades of Purple, a Prince podcast. I'm your host, Ronica Crutchfield. On tonight's episode, I'm going to be returning to my infamous top 10 countdown of my favorite things of Prince. So this one should have been one that I should have done a long time ago, being the fact that I am a librarian of all things. So this top 10 list of my favorite Prince books, it was kind of hard to kind of just go by, my favorites, because just about every book that I've read about Prince, I have truly enjoyed. So this is just a highlight reel, you could say, of some of my favorite Prince books, but I actually had to go through, I have a whole Prince library at this point, and I didn't even go through even half of the books that I have. But I picked out some ones that were very memorable to me when I read them. And actually, it's funny because number one, I don't even own. But let's go ahead and get started with number 10. So, number 10 is The Beautiful Ones, the unfinished memoir that Prince did with his editor, Dan Pipingbring. So, this came out in, I believe, October of 2019. And this one could have easily been my number one had Prince lived to finish it, because I really felt like he had a lot to say, and that he was probably for the first time willing to be transparent about some things that went on in his life, especially things that went on when he was younger. Because in the part of the book where he's talking, he talks about the relationship that he had with his mother, the relationship he had with his father, things that were going on at school, his first love, his first real kiss, things like that. Very, moments that people remember, in their lives. And just as, the cutoff came, he was talking about, his first like sexual experience that he had. And so it was just starting to get good. And then Dan did the best that he could with, providing basically a scrapbook of pictures that Prince kept when he was recording his first album, For You, when he was over in Sausalito, California, at the I think the record plant, doing that record there. And I enjoyed it for what it was, but like I said, I think it would have been 1,000% so much better had Prince been able to finish it. But it's still a good collector's item. I would definitely recommend that if you haven't read The Beautiful Ones, to definitely read it. It is worth reading. It is worth looking at the pictures, because you see a lot of unreleased pictures of Prince when he was younger, and also has like pictures of like his notes, and pictures of his songwriting, because a lot of songs he would write like on the backs of like hotel stationery or hotel napkins and stuff like that. So it has a lot of good like art archival memorabilia, like Soft and Wet. They show like the notebook that he wrote that on, and different flyers and things like that. So I mean, it's definitely worth a listen. I mean, or I don't know, actually I don't know if I have it on audio, or I read it, but I think I do believe it is on audio. So if you're more of an audio person, because okay, I love to read books, but just recently, and I say within like the last maybe 2-3 years or so, I've really gotten into audiobooks. I actually just listened to an audiobook for my book club that I run just recently. So I believe it is. I think all of these books may be available on audio, but don't quote me on that. Uh Definitely check with Audible. That's the probably the most well-known audiobook app that you can find. It is connected with Amazon. So all these titles that I'm telling you, if you prefer to listen to them, just try to see if you can find them on Audible. But anyway, that's number 10 is Prince, The Beautiful Ones. Number 9, uh, is Let's Go Crazy. I got a list in front of me. I've got the books in front of me, and I've got the list in front of me, because I didn't want to forget anything. Let's Go Crazy by Prince and the Making of Purple Rain by Alan Light. So this was one of the first Prince books I read back in 2020, when I re-entered my whole Prince journey. And this book talks about just that, the making of Purple Rain, and how Prince, told his managers at the time uh, that Purple Rain came out, that he wanted to make a movie, and that was the only way that he would renew his contract with Warner Brothers, uh, is if he got a movie made. And so it talks about how he went about doing that. And it's a really, really good book. And it talks about how, Purple Rain, that was not the initial title of the movie. A lot of people know that it went by Dreams at first, and it had a whole kind of darker tone to it that Prince initially wanted. But it started, but after other people, such as the director that ended up directing it, and I can't think of his name right now, but once it got into his hands, they chose to kind of lighten it up a little bit. But anyway, it's a really good book if you're really interested in the Purple Rain movie and how that whole thing came about. So I highly recommend it. And matter of fact, I'll probably end up going back and rereading a lot of these um, just because they're really all really good books. And Alan Light, he's a musical journalist who followed Prince around for several years. I think he's a native of Minneapolis, or is that John Bream? No, I think John Bream is the native of Minneapolis. But anyway, but this guy, Alan Light, he is a leading musical journalist, and he was a senior editor for Rolling Stone for a long time, and then he was also he was the editor in chief of Vibe magazine as well. So he knows his stuff when it comes to music and stuff like that. So, but that is number 9. Let's go crazy. Prince and the Making of Purple Rain. So number 8 is Possessed: The Rise and Fall of Prince by Alex Hahn. Now, Alex Hahn just recently did an updated version, and y'all might have seen it because it's always like posted sometimes as an ad. If you talk about Prince enough, you'll start seeing Prince related things, like how our phones are always listening to us. And so he did an update recently, and I'm gonna go ahead and grab it real quick because my husband was kind enough to purchase it for me, and it's called The Rise of Prince, and it's 1958 through 1988, which was the kind of like the original. Well, no, actually, Possessed went all the way to like 2003, I think. And I liked Possessed: The Rise and Fall of Prince because it talks about some things, that, are not really talked about in some of his other books, like, supposedly the relationship that he had with Apollonia, and that everybody on the set knew that they were kind of, messing around or at least seeing each other. So he talks about things that other books only kind of either don't talk about or speculate about, but he speaks very plainly about. And Alex Hahn actually was a very big Prince fan, probably still is, I would imagine. But he gained notoriety because he was the attorney for the Prince Fans United group that actually sued Prince when Prince was trying to sue some of his fans, a dark time in Prince lore, about I think there was like a video, not a video, something on and Prince was very, as we all know, he was very, very, very strict about his music being played and him not, releasing it. And so something got out, some of his music got out, and this was out, and it was before YouTube. So it wasn't the case of, the baby dancing to 1999, that lady. It wasn't her, but it was something else that came out. And anyway, and so Prince sued this person, or this group rather, and so Alex Hahn was the attorney for the Prince United group, who represented that group. Oh, I know what it was. It was for, I think it was for that magazine Housequake, I believe. That's what it was. And Housequake was a magazine, a Prince fan magazine that just kept up with all things Prince, like his concerts, just different stories and things like that. And so Prince, I think, was under the incorrect assumption that these people were getting paid off of, these stories and posting stuff about him. And so I think that's the reason why I ended up suing the magazine Housequake. So he represented Housequake. But like I said, he gets into the nitty gritty about Prince. He talks about, personal stories that, you won't find in other books about Prince. And I haven't got around to reading the updated version, but I think it basically has some updates because, of course, Prince passed away in 2016. So the very beginning talks about, that day and, what all happened. But what really stood out to me about this book was the prelude. Okay, so the prelude of this book is April 21st, 1996. Because now, of course, we know in hindsight that was 30 years to the day that Prince passed away. But on that day, April 21st of 1996, a lot of people don't know this, but that was the same day that Prince overdosed. And had it not been for Maite, he probably would have died then. But Maite ended up finding him and passed out, and they called the ambulance and they pumped his stomach. So that happened on April 21st of 1996. And looking back on that, that's just crazy. In the same way that April 21st of 1985, he recorded Sometimes It Snows in April. So you just see these, coincidences throughout Prince's life. And April was just never a good month for Prince, as we would soon come to find out. But definitely read Possessed. It's on Amazon. All these books, I think, are on Amazon that you can purchase. But it's called Possessed, The Rise and Fall of Prince by Alex Hahn. So that's number 8. So moving on, number 7 is Prince Before the Rain, which was edited by Alan Bolu. I think is how you say that. I might be mispronouncing his name. But anyway, Prince Before the Rain is one of those picture books that talks about Prince like before Purple Rain. That's why it's called Before the Rain. And it just has a bunch of pictures during the For You through controversy era. And it's pictures that most of us probably already seen, but it's still one of those picture books that has really nice stories in it. Excuse me. And has like photo shoots from controversy and the 1999 era. It has the pictures in it are really, really good, but it's pictures that you probably have all seen. So that part of the book probably, if you just love pictures of Prince, which of course I do, it would be a really good book to invest in. But yeah, so he was like, I guess Prince's like main photographer from starting in, I don't think it was For You, that not that early, but I want to say probably by Dirty Mind, because it starts at let me go. I think it actually starts really at the Dirty Mind era. So not the Prince era, because most of the earliest photos in here are all from Dirty Mind. So I think it was around that time that he started becoming Prince's photographer. His name is, once again, Alan Bolu. I don't know. Like I said, I might be mispronouncing that. But there's a foreword by Des Dickerson, so you can also check that out. And I will be doing another countdown of books. Now, these books are just about Prince himself. But of course, other people in Prince's camp have wrote books. So I will be doing another countdown about books like Des Dickerson's book and Morris Day's book. I don't know. I wanted to say Morris Hayes, but he didn't have a book. But Sheila E.'s book, and of course Maite's book. So I will be doing another countdown about books in Prince's books released from people in Prince's camp. So be on the lookout for that. But that was number 8, Prince Before the Rain. Okay, number 7. Sorry. Number 6 is Prince: An Original Life in Pictures by Mobeam Azar. And so this book is another picture book that follows Prince's life. And let me go grab it. I know y'all can't see me grabbing it, but it is another picture book that follows Prince's life through pictures, like from his earliest days in For You all the way up until 2016. So it's another one of those books that that you just have to just see for yourself, the wonderful pictures and the fact that it tells a story. It tells his life story through pictures. And so when there's books like this, like you don't even really worry about like Netflix documentaries and things like that. And part of me, like I said, going back to The Beautiful Ones, I really wish that The Beautiful Ones could have been completed because there would have been no talk whatsoever about there needing to be any kind of Netflix documentary or none of that nonsense that came with it. Because I see recently that Freddie Mercury got a Netflix documentary and it's getting ready to be released. So a part of me wished that the Prince Estate would have settled with Netflix so we could have had something because we don't know when the Prince Estate is going to do anything, if anything. They claim that they're going to do some kind of documentary, but it's going to be washed over, washed down, washed everywhere. We're never going to get not saying that there's ever going to be like a real story. I mean, the real story would have to have come from the horse's mouth, which, we can't do that. But, this would have been something, maybe close to it. Let me stop. I'm going to get on my soapbox about the whole Netflix documentary because like I've said in other episodes, I'm kind of still on the fence about it. There were things that I liked about it and there were things that I didn't like about it. So, but be that as it may. But Prince, An Original Life in Pictures by Mo Beam is another book that follows his life through pictures. And it's definitely worth a look out for. The next one, number 5, A Private View by Afshin Shahidi, is another picture book, but it goes back to like a later time in Prince's life in the 2000s. Afshin was his principal photographer during the 2000 period. So around Musicology and 3121. And so I like that you see these pictures of an older Prince, a much more mature Prince in a new way, and he talks about the conversations that him and Prince would have. And he, talked about the dreams and stuff that he had after Prince died, that he would have about him. So it's a very personal and, like he said, private view of Prince. There's those pictures that you see of him and his second wife, Manuela. Those are in this particular book. And it was also another early find that I got when I started back on my Prince journey was this book. And this one has a foreword by Beyonce. So it's definitely worth checking out for sure. And the pictures, like I said, in all of these picture books, the pictures are just absolutely stunning. They're amazing. And this book has a lot of pictures of like his musicology band that he had at the time with his drummer, John Blackwell, and you just, that whole band there that he had. And that one picture of him looking like he's about to shoot dice, uh, that he had like something I think he had like his, he had like his handkerchief or something in his hand. And so they mean that to say how light-skinned dudes roll dice. So it's like little things like that. But he covered like all of the musicology tour and took some nice pics around the time that he was going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to be inducted for that. So it's just a really good, like I said, later stage Prince picture book. So that's number 5, A Private View by Afshin Shahidi. So number 4 is Nothing Compares to You, An Oral History of Prince by Torre. So Torre has done another book that he did while Prince was still alive. I think it came out in like 2013 or 2014 called I Will Die For You. And it talks about the generational differences that Prince and his audience had. And it was a really fascinating book as well, because Prince was a late baby boomer, but he had a large, Gen X and millennial audience as well. So he talks about, those generational comparisons, but he also talks about, his personal life and he brings up about the song Sister, which I'm wanting to do a kind of a breakdown of that song, because out of all the songs in Prince's catalog, Sister is without a doubt the most controversial. So I may be doing that. I may be doing that episode pretty soon, because when I way back when I reviewed the Dirty Mind album, I talked about how I felt about that song. But like I said, let me stop. I don't want to get on another soapbox. But this book also talked about some other controversial topics that talked about how Prince may have became addicted to prescription drugs. And so Torre said that he talked to Alan Lees, who of course was Prince's tour manager during the Purple Rain era. And there was an incident during a rehearsal where Prince was in a bathtub and the bathtub fell like some 20, 30 feet or something like that. And he ended up landing on his back. And so after that, and this was in, I believe, 1983, 84. And so after that, Prince had back pain. And so Torre kind of theorizes, along with Alan Leeds, that incident was really what caused his addiction, his later addiction to prescription drugs, and not what everybody else was, saying, that, him jumping off of the pianos and jumping off the stereos. Well, of course, that caused him great pain in his legs and feet and hips too. But that incident with the bathtub might have been the start of it. Kind of like how, Michael Jackson and his hair catching on fire incident was kind of like the catalyst of him getting addicted to prescription pain medication. So it has other theories, in there, and it talks about, his personal life, how like he enjoyed threesomes, and, there was a person who I'm almost sure that it was probably one of his girlfriends. What is a girl name? I can't think of nobody's name when I do these episodes, y'all. But anyway, it was a girl that Prince dated for a little while. She was kind of wild herself. Robin Powers. um so I'm pretty sure that Torre probably interviewed Robin Powers, and they talked about how, because she had said as much in other interviews, so I'm pretty sure it was her, how, her and Prince would have threesomes and whatnot. And so it kind of delves into a little bit of that. And in his other book that came out before Prince died, talks about that too. And so supposedly Prince was not really a fan of Torre after that first book came out, and he found out about the content in the same way that he kind of fell out with Sheila E. and the content of her book that came out in 2014. But like I said, that's a whole nother episode there on that. But yeah, Prince didn't like people talking about him in their books. And supposedly he had even talked to Maite before his death, or reached out, to someone that knew Maite or whatever, that didn't want her to publish that book that she ended up publishing anyway in 2017 after his death. So like I said, when it comes to certain people, I'm, I like, for instance, Maite. I'm gonna get back to the countdown, but I am going to eventually review her book. I just haven't just made time for it. But I am also kind of on the fence about Maite. There's some things I like about her, and there's some things that I don't. And this was one of them. I understood that it was her story to tell. But at the same time, you knew that Prince did not want you to do this. But she had to do what she had to do. She has to live. And I know that she has her pet rescue business and all that. But, I just kind of feel like, that was kind of done a little bit in poor taste. But at the same time, I kind of understood it from a financial standpoint, But anyway, so where was I at? So I done got off on another tangent, y'all. I'm sorry. But Nothing Compares to You, an oral history of Prince. It's just that, an oral history, meaning that he interviewed a bunch of people that knew Prince and talked about his life. So if you're interested in hearing what other people thought about Prince, I would highly recommend both this book and the other book, I Will Die For You, which I'm basically saying that's an honorable mention at this point. But I actually prefer this other one, Nothing Compares to You. So Toure, he's a wonderful journalist, well known. He interviewed R. Kelly back in the day about his interest in underage girls, uh, and R. Kelly, the infamous interview where he said, "When you say teenage, what do you mean by that?" So that's the Toure that I'm talking about for those that don't know. So anyway, going on to number 4, we have, oh, that was number 4. So we're on to number 3, Prince, Life and Times by Jason Draper. So Jason Draper also did another Prince book that was it was another book called FAQ, which is Frequently Asked Questions About Prince, which is also a very good book. But Life and Times is another book, another picture book that talks about Prince through pictures. And let me grab it real quick. Uh, Let me see. Where is it at? Where is it at? Okay. And I actually got the revised and updated edition, but it's another book that once again talks about his life in pictures, the early years, Purple Rain, What's My Name, Emancipation, and then the final years. So it actually goes from his early years straight through to Purple Rain, and then What's My Name after he changed his name in the 90s, after he changed his name, and then the final years. And so it has other pictures in it that, some that you may have seen, some you may have not. This one came out back in 2008, so it is an older title. But it was another book that I really enjoyed just thumbing through and reading the text and just, really. It was also, I think this one is also like a conglomerate of like different magazine articles about Prince too. So, and then he just kind of put those with pictures. But he talks about all of the major albums um, and all that. So it's a good book. I enjoyed it. And it's making me want to actually go back and um, reread all of these books because Jason Draper is another musical journalist. He covered Led Zeppelin and like other rock stars like that. So this isn't his first go around with like music journalism either. So he's another one to always look out for. So that was number 3. Number 2 is Prince and the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions, 1984 and 1983 by Dwayne Tudal. And I also follow him on Facebook as well. I do also like the studio sessions book that he has about Sign of the Times era, but I have not finished it because that is a booger bear of a book. So I would include that in my honorable mentions. But this was my first time reading and actually, because I know studio session stuff can be kind of boring, but the way that Dwayne wrote this book, he put a lot of like text in between and, would talk about, the people that were there when all of these songs were being recorded and edited and all that. So it was a good read. Literally from day to day, you could see what Prince was recording and, and when he was going on tour, those tour dates for Purple Rain, for example. So it's definitely worth reading. And like I said, I have his other one about Sign of the Times. I just haven't gotten through it. But this one is a lot shorter. So you could definitely get through it, depending on, I think it's also on audio too. I think I might actually try to see if this one, see if the Sign of the Times one is on audio because it might be better to just listen to it if you want to do that as opposed to reading because it is a lot of text. But see, I'm a reader, so I didn't mind it. But you definitely have to. It's one of those books that you have to make time for sure to read. But it's definitely worth getting. I actually got the expanded edition. So that is number 2, the Prince and the Purple Rain Era Sessions, 1983 and 1984 by Dwayne Tudal. And also it has a forward here by Questlove, who was in the rap group The Roots, and he was a big Prince fan. And so you might want to check out his forward in that book as well. So, drum roll for number one is Prince, Inside the Music and Mass by Ronan Rowe. And so I told you I don't even own this book, but it left such an impression on me when I first read it. Out of all of these books, I would say this one was number one because it was it was so expansive, but I liked how Roe told Prince's story through stories. It didn't have a lot of it did have some pictures, but it was one of those chapter books, but it wasn't like a picture book like a lot of these other books are. But it told his story so well through storytelling that really kept your attention. And like I said, you don't even have to be a reader. You just have to be a fan of Prince to really just enjoy any of these books. But I highly suggest Prince Inside the Music and Mass by Ronan Rowe, Ronin Rowe. Without a doubt, it's been my favorite book that I need to buy because it has been so long since I have read it, but it still stood out to me, especially toward the end of the book when he gets to the point where Prince is about to transition. I mean, he does it so beautifully. And if I had the book, I would read a little poem that was in there that I don't know if it's something that Prince did or something that he just found, but it really just stood out to me. So I'll have to, when I go buy it, maybe I'll do a live and I'll read the poem that's in that book, but it's absolutely beautiful. So other honorable mentions I have is the Prince Icon book that has all of those pictures from all those different photographers over the years. And the other book that's an honorable mention is Prince, All the Songs, The Story Behind Every Track by Benoit Cleric, I think is how you say his name. So I chose those as honorable mentions only because they are huge books and I haven't even got halfway through either one of them. Well, I actually went on live and did the Icon book. But the other one, Prince and all the songs and the story behind every track, I haven't even got halfway through that book at all. So that's another work in progress. But I highly, highly suggest that you purchase all of the books that I mentioned. If you want to have a true Prince library, be a true Prince fan, I probably shouldn't say true Prince fan, but you know what I'm saying. Like if you really want to get into Prince, these are the titles that I really recommend that you get for your library. So I think that is it, you guys. So I hope you liked my suggestions and check those books out. So up next, I'm going to probably do another Purple Lyric breakdown of the song Sister. So be on the lookout for that. As well as I got some other book reviews coming up as well. So until then, you guys, peace and be wild, and may you live to see the dawn. Bye.